Welcome to episode 007 of the Reddit/r/Change My View podcast, which is the work of the Reddit Change My View moderation team. June 5th, 2013, the Edward Snowden NSA leaks are released to the world. You remember where you were when that happened? You might not, but I'll bet you remember where you were at the final episode of Season 3 of Game of Thrones. The Red Wedding was released. So, if you can put yourself there, the days immediately following the Red Wedding were also the days that the global political system was rocked itself by the release of this information about the NSA. So try to put yourself in that place. I'll do my best to keep the dates from getting too wonky, and just follow along about a story that really defined an important period in our subreddit and kind of what we're about and what we represent in the larger discussion, the ripples that come out from what we're doing here. So giddy up, let's get on it. So it's really hard to get a sense of sort of the impact of a big Reddit post. Like, in my mind, even the lurkers of subreddit like Change My View, I think are the kinds of people to which that sort of in-depth, sincere discussion is happening. I haven't been able to find hard figures on this, but a common rule of thumb, for every OP, there's 10 commenters, and for every commenter, there's 10 lurkers. And then 10 times that is the commenters, 10 times that is the lurkers. But out there, I think there's another 10 times or 100 times of the people that they talk to, because the kind of people going in the weeds and Change My View really are, I think, in many times for their own social circles, both in social media and among their immediate group of friends in person. I mean, I'm a real believer that what's happening in Change My View is important. And so here's an example of one of the biggest splashes in our history. Just really put us on the map. I think we gained tens of thousands of subscribers in around that time. And that data will make available. But the point I'm getting at is that what you'll be reading about is happening at the center of several concentric circles of increasing numbers of impact. That is what is happening in these conversations. So just add those exponents or underlines or bolds or italics to what you're hearing here today, that everything else really is magnified by a larger influence of what appears to be this little community that really does have a wider splash of impact. When the news about Edward Snowden's leak dropped, obviously, that conversation was reflected in Reddit and many times on the front page. And so, of course, we saw a post on that and Change My View. And so, this is the post that initiated what will ultimately become the legendary comment that we're going to talk about today. But here is just the brief summary of the original post. I won't read the edit section because it triples the length. We'll just start with the opener, and we'll go from there. Here goes. On Friday, June 7th, 2013, at 14:55 and 40 seconds UTC time, username LegalBeagle05 posted to Change My View the following post. Here is the title. I believe the government should be allowed to view my emails, tap my phone calls, and view my web history for national security concerns. CMV. And now, this is the text of the original post. I have nothing to hide. I don't break the law. I don't write hate emails. I don't participate in any terrorist organizations, and I certainly don't leak secret information to other countries/terrorists. The most the government will get out of reading my emails is that I went to see Now You See It last week, and I'm excited the Blackhawks are kicking ass. If the government is able to find, hunt down, and stop a terrorist from blowing up my office building in downtown Chicago, I'm all for them reading whatever they can get their hands on. For my safety and for the safety of others, so hundreds of innocent people don't have to die, please read my emails. And that does have an exclamation point at the end there. Now, from the Red Wedding onward here, really nothing in this story is ordinary, or expected, or normal, or goes according to plan. And one of the strangest things about this is that this comment, this legendary comment that got 11,600 upvotes, that was gilded 15 times. This is not the OP's post that got those numbers, and this is not a top-level comment in response to OP. But this is a third comment down off of the fourth most popular response to OP on the responses, right? So this is, an underdog to begin with, right? But somehow on the merits of the comment itself, without taking a side, without forming an opinion on the topic itself, just an observation of what occurred on Reddit, whatever arrangement of letters and punctuation and numbers appeared in that square, garnered the attention of a massive segment of the Reddit community. And what you should note is that not only that, but this ultimately, when reposted to best of, became and held the position of the top best of comment of all time. So what I'm going to read to you now, I am, much like OP's intro, I'm going to try and read the full comment here now, and I'm going to try to do so the best I can into what I believe the spirit was intended by the author. So my apologies to username, account now deleted, but the username was 161719, just 161719. So, what follows now is my attempt at a reading of that post, and then we'll get into more of this after that. I live in a country generally assumed to be a dictatorship, one of the Arab Spring countries. I've lived through curfews and have seen the outcomes of the sort of surveillance now being revealed in the U.S. People here talking about curfews aren't realizing what it actually feels like. It isn't about having to go inside and the practicality of that. It's about creating the feeling that everyone, everything is watching. A few points. Point 1. The purpose of this surveillance from the government's point of view is to control the enemies of the state, not terrorists. People who are coalescing around ideas that would destabilize the status quo. These could be religious ideas. These could be groups like Anon who are too good with tech for the government's liking. It makes it very easy to know who these people are. It makes it very simple to control these people. Let's say you're a college student and you get in with some people who want to stop farming practices that hurt animals. So you make a plan to go protest these actions. You get there and wow, the protest is huge. You never expected this and you were just goofing off. Well, now everyone who was there is suspect. Even though you technically had the right to protest, you're now considered a dangerous person. With this tech in place, the government doesn't have to put you in jail. They can do something more sinister. They can just email you a sexy picture you took with a girlfriend, or they can email you a note saying that they can prove your dad is cheating on his taxes. Or they can threaten to get your dad fired. All you have to do, the email says, is help them catch your friends in the group. You have to report back every week, and or your dad might lose his job. So you do. You turn in your friends, and even though they try to keep the meetings off the grid, you're reporting on them to protect your dad. Point 2. Let's say number 1 goes on. The country is a really weird place now. Really weird. Pretty soon, a movement springs up. Like Occupy, except it's bigger this time. People are really serious, and they are saying they want a government without this power. I guess people are realizing that it's a serious deal. You see on the news that tear gas was fired. Your friend calls you frantic. They're shooting people. Oh my God, you never signed up for this. You say, fuck it. My dad might lose his job, but I won't be responsible for anyone dying. That's going too far. You refuse to report anymore. You just stop going to meetings. You stay at home and try not to watch the news. 3 days later, police come to your door and arrest you. They confiscate your computer and phones, and they beat you up a bit. No one can help you, so they all just sit quietly. They know that if they say anything, they're next. This happened in the country I live in. It is not a joke. It's hard to know how long you were in there. What you saw was horrible. Most of the time, you only heard screams, people begging to be killed, noises you've never heard before. You were lucky. You got kicked every day when they threw your moldy food at you, but no one shocked you. No one used sexual violence on you, at least that you remember. There were some times they gave you pills, and you can't say for sure what happened then. To be honest, sometimes the pills were the best part of your day because at least then you didn't feel anything. You have scars on you from the way you were treated. You learn in prison that torture is now common, but everyone who uploads videos or pictures of this torture is labeled a leaker. It's considered a threat to national security. Pretty soon, a cut you got on your leg is looking really bad. You think it's infected. There were no doctors in prison, and it was so overcrowded, who knows what got in that cut. You go to the doctor, but he refuses to see you. He knows. If he does, the government can see the records that he treated you. Even you calling his office prompts a visit from the local police. You decide to go home, see your parents. Maybe they can help. This leg is getting really bad. You get to their house. They aren't home. You can't reach them no matter how hard you try. A neighbor pulls you aside and he quickly tells you that they were arrested 3 weeks ago, haven't been seen since. You vaguely remember mentioning them on the phone. When you were going to that protest, even your little brother isn't there. Point 4. Is this even really happening?
You look at the news, sports scores, celebrity news. It's like nothing is wrong. What the hell is going on? A stranger smirks at you reading the newspaper. You lose it. You shout at him. Fuck you, dude. What are you laughing at? Can't you see I've got a fucking wound on my leg? Sorry, he says. I just didn't know anyone read the news anymore. There haven't been any real journalists for months. They're all in jail. Everyone walking around is scared. They can't talk to anyone else because they don't know who is reporting for the government. Hell, at one time you were reporting for the government. Maybe they just want their kid to get through school. Maybe they want to keep their job. Maybe they're sick and want to be able to visit the doctor. It's always a simple reason. Good people always do bad things for simple reasons. You want to protest. You want your family back. You need help for your leg. This is way beyond anything you ever wanted. It started because you just wanted to see fair treatment in farms. Now you're basically considered a terrorist. And everyone around you might be reporting on you. You definitely can't use a phone or email. You can't get a job. You can't even trust people face to face anymore. On every corner, there are people with guns, and they are as scared as you are. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to be labeled as traitors. This all happened in the country where I live. You want to know why revolutions happen? Because little by little by little, things get worse and worse. But this thing that is happening right now is big. This is the key ingredient. This allows them to know everything they need to know to accomplish the above. The fact that they're doing it is proof that they're the sort of people who might use it in the way I described. In the country I live in, they also claimed it was for the safety of the people. Same in Soviet Russia. Same in East Germany. In fact, that is always the excuse that is used to surveil everyone. But it has never once proven to be the reality. Maybe Obama won't do it. Maybe the next guy won't. Or the one after him. Maybe this story isn't about you. Maybe it happens 10 or 20 years from now when a big war is happening or after another big attack. Maybe it's about your daughter or your son. We just don't know yet. But what we do know is that right now, in this moment, we have a choice. Are we okay with this or not? Do we want this power to exist or not? You know, for me, the reason I'm upset is that I grew up in school saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I was taught that the United States meant liberty, justice for all, and as you get older, you learn that in this country, we define that phrase based on the Constitution. That's what tells us what liberty is. That's what justice is. Well, the government just violated that ideal. So if they aren't standing for liberty and justice anymore, what are they standing for? Safety? Ask yourself a question. In the story I told above, does anyone sound safe? I didn't make anything up. These things happen to people I know. We used to think it couldn't happen in America, but guess what? It's starting to happen. I actually get really upset when people say, I don't have anything to hide. Let them read everything. People saying that have no idea what they are bringing down on their heads. They are naive. And we need to listen to people in other countries who are clearly telling us that this is a horrible, horrible sign. And it is time to stand up and say no.
I'm sitting here now. It's been a couple of weeks, actually, since I recorded that, and it does take on a different effect in audio. Obviously, weird to hear your own voice, but there's something in reading it that I felt didn't really come out until I tried to say it. There's a cadence there. There's something in this that to me, I can see why it did have such resonance. Not, again, I'm saying this in terms of the quality of the writing and the structure, not about the opinions. I want to stay neutral here on that as much as I can in my role as host and CMV moderator. But I think there's something worth appreciating there in that. And my compliments to the author. But yeah, moving on from that. So that was the post. That was what written. That's what stirred up so much attention. And right during that immediate aftermath of the Edward Snowden reveals, this was a real part of our reaction. When leaders or change agents in history take their actions. There are responses. You can go back in time and watch tea parties or protests or revolutions. Whatever it is for that time and place here in our modern age, this was a big deal reaction. There's some resonance here to this is arguably the largest identifiable gem in the totality of the Reddit freakout immediately following the Snowden reveals. And I think that makes it important. I think that makes this post important, an important part of history that I hope future people will come to look at and track the influence of. Unfortunately, even now, there aren't fantastic tools for directly measuring the impact of a post like this, or even a comment, which is much tougher. But I leave it to you to decide, the importance therein. But in my mind, there's something big and historic that happened, and that's what that is. So now for 5 months, this post sat as it was, and then things got complicated in a way that can only happen on Reddit. And here's how the fallout drama 5 months later unfolded. Now, out of sheer necessity, I'm just going to leave out the mechanics here to the viewer of how Reddit and its structure works between subreddits. I encourage you to go and check out Reddit and play around a little bit, get a sense of the style. But what I am going to give you a little background on are the major subreddits here involved. So first of all, we'll talk about Change My View, which you're all familiar with, a forum for polite discussion on these topics. So a variety of topics. The next one to talk about, though, is the reddit.com/r best of. That's a place where people can find real gems from other places on Reddit and kind of congregate them in one place. Maybe it was an awesome post on VX Junkies that never got more than 108 upvotes, but someone saw it and thought it deserved another stab at attention across a broader audience, feeling it's really something worth sharing. A second try for some posts, and for others, just a way to take it up an order of magnitude into a bigger Reddit. But in this case, when this comment was posted to the best of, it became its own post rather than just a mere comment. And at that point, it became quickly and remained the all-time top-ranked comment in best of. And for a tiny little subreddit, compared to some of these other subreddits with millions of subscribers, for a post on Change My View to gain that kind of thing, this was before I was a moderator, but it must have been a hell of a thrill to have seen that happen from what the time was just nowhere near the top of who you'd expect to be at the top of best of. You'd think it'd be from Funny or from News, but it was from Change My View. And Change My View was proud. It was a great moment. Now, the next subreddit you want to know about is Reddit r Conspiracy. And that's for a particular topic area that sort of circulates around. If you were an Unsolved Mysteries fan back in the early 90s, or an X-Files fan, or someone who enjoys Art Bell and Coast to Coast, or it's really that topic area that's not super easy to define, but you kind of know it where you see it, and that is the enthusiasts for that topic area. That's the subreddit, and that's their theme. So the next step in the story kind of happens over in Conspiracy. We'll go from there. And so it came to pass that in Reddit/r Conspiracy, user 161719, the same user who posted that original post. This is 5 months now later. 5 months after the Snowden leaks, 5 months after the Red Wedding. We've got a post that's posted to our Conspiracy. And basically, this is a comment in response to a thread asking what conspiracy turned you into a conspiracy theorist and why. So, to summarize in brief, I'll start by reading the TLDR. TLDR, I think every American history teacher should be forced to walk around in Jerusalem, then go through the wall to Bethlehem and walk around in Palestine before teaching students that colonialism is something that, quote, used to, unquote, happen. And now the post that precedes that, it tells the story of 1617-19's visit across Sinai from Cairo up into Israel and then through the wall into Palestine and to Bethlehem. And his story of what he experienced there and how it affected him, and how impactful it was on him, the difficulties there of the people. And I encourage you to go and check it out. It's of a similar quality writing, and I'll leave you something to sort of go and check out after this. But rather than read a whole nother full-length post here, I think I just want to move forward and start to tell, what happened next in this sort of unfolding drama. So at some point while up there, while the Palestinian comment was doing well on Best of, it was removed. And so before it was removed, though, mind you, you have the original conspiracy comment from November of 2013, and the conspiracy comment about Palestine reposted to Best of November 5th, 2013. And then previously, you have the original post on Change My View by the same author, and that post reposted to Best of, where it continues to live even in November as the best all-time post on Best of. So, Best of decides to delete the post from Our Conspiracy. The full story on why I still am not 100% clear on, but posts from Our Conspiracy are banned. And, well, user 161719 thought this not right and thought the story deserved to continue to be told, because it was still in live real time the day or two after, when a lot of people were still looking at it, but it got removed. So in order to catch those fleeting eyeballs while they were hot and heavy, 161719, decided that post deserved to be heard, deserved to be read. And so what they did is, this user went back 5 months and realized that they still had a post out there in the world, a post that was still getting thousands of eyeballs a day, or I'm guessing, but a ton of attention, and had that legendary space still on top of Best of, and proceeded to delete the entire original comment, the whole thing about censorship and about oppression and dictatorship, in response to Snowden. That iconic post that had become this lodestar, this important concentrated place of influence and impact on the internet in response to such an important historical issue. It was a real point of gravity, and they went ahead and deleted it and replaced the text with the text of the new post about the life in Palestine and the struggles there, so that it would still see attention, so that it could still be read and hopefully reach an audience. It was an attempt to genuinely draw attention to something that 161719 felt strong about, but in a way was in terms of etiquette and other things, something a lot of people frowned on. To go back to that old post and just delete it from history, first of all, was unfortunate because no one could read the original post, but also to replace it with the other was just entirely disingenuous to the whole project and our rule set within Change My View. And so this created a situation, really an awkward position, especially for the founding mod, Snorlax, who had continued a longer conversation with 161719 directly, and ultimately they agreed on a compromise. And 161719 replied, because it was still within 1 year, the comment could still be edited. This was 5 months later. Left up the changed and edited comment as it now appears today in Change My View. Snorlax agreed not to delete the original comment, and 161719 reposted the comment as a reply to that same original comment with the same URL, but leaving the Palestinian story in place there, but replying to it with the original comment so it could be referenced for history. And now it's, more jumbled and awkward and, sad to sort of have that piece of history change, but then now we know the story about it. Now we know kind of what happened and what came around and what ultimately lied in place. And if you look at this too, we're talking about some internet posts and what order they're in and some online thing and who gets magic internet points. But we're also talking about, a talented writer here. It's passionate about an issue that's having an impact, juggling the importance of something he must have personally thought that original post was so important to him, that he felt so strongly about the other post, the Palestinian one. He deleted his own masterpiece from before. He burned his own previous Mona Lisa to put up another Venus de Milo, and all the posts did very well on their own merit. They both did, but to replace them and do that was disingenuous. And so some compromise had to be reached, and how that all ends up playing out, I think, is a little piece of real history too. This is the history of what we're doing. But let's not forget also the history in real life and the real world out there outside of Reddit. For the people who have those hard situations, be it in Palestine or who are suffering under the unnamed dictatorship described in the original post that had 11,000 points and 15 gildings. That something about that post, it could have been entirely made up, but there's something in there that impacted people, that created a something that resonated. This was in response to Snowden, in response to our universal revulsion to tyranny. That fiction or not, like the Red Wedding, it was its own important moment. And if you'd like to know more about what happened and the details, there is a lot of research and a very long grid that I'll be uploading into Google Docs or another appropriate form that I had to do to piece it together, and all the other 98% of the research I did that's been left out today. So this is a reasonably length episode, and we don't disappear into a Escher painting of trying to connect links and backlinks and changes over time. But this is the simplest way I could tell it, in the way I felt most genuine and important to the subreddit itself and its little piece in history. So that's a little story about what happened and change my view one day. Yeah, just a little tale from our subreddit. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully it will not be as long before the next episode as well. Thank you for listening, and, well, have an excellent day, week, year, everything else. Cheers.